What's up, Peyton?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. So, first, I want to ask, how did you get in character to play a 16-year-old doctor?
That's a great question. There was a lot of preparation that went into developing Lahela and sort of stepping into her. I definitely brought my personal experience, not as a teenage doctor, but as a teenage actor. I think, I do know what it is like to be a young person in a professional setting and having these adult expectations and responsibilities placed on you at a really young age. So that definitely, I think, lended itself to stepping into character. In addition, I did a lot of research, a lot of YouTubing, a lot of WebMDing when it came to all the medical stuff. And I talked a lot. We had a doctor on set who was there to make sure everything felt authentic and truthful. And so I worked a lot with him, just going into the specifics of everything that we were doing to make sure it was the most authentic portrayal of a teenage doctor possible.
And it kind of feels like the role was kind of built for you. I'd love to hear the story about how you got this role and how you kind of helped shape it, who this character becomes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the first time I read the script, I, fell in love with the story and fell in love with the character. And I think a huge part of that was because of the unique perspective that Courtney Kang, our creator, approaches the story with and from, and a perspective that felt very personal to me and my experience growing up. And so, yeah, I mean, there were a lot of really strange parallels. Like the first time I got with the creative team on Zoom and auditioned, I mean, the scenes, the first and second scenes were surfing with my dad, and the second scene was taking the driver's license test. And I wanted to tell them this, but I didn't want it to seem like I was making things up to get the role, because I kid you not, that morning I went surfing with my dad
Wow.
like the week before that I had gotten my driver's license. So there are all these very strange parallels between my life and Lahela's life. Even the family dynamics. I mean, my parents, my real parents, and Kathleen and Jason look a lot alike. And we're friends in Hawaii, like got along really well. So yeah, there were a lot of very strange but fun similarities between my life and Lahela's life that I think, add to the show.
What is it like auditioning on Zoom compared to like being able to like be in the studios and audition in person?
Auditioning on Zoom is very difficult because you take for granted being able to be in a room with someone and sort of feed off of their energy. And in a Zoom scenario, it's sort of you're on your own, right? And you're trying not to look at the little square of you in the corner, and you're trying not to get distracted by all the moving pieces. So it's definitely very difficult. But I do have to say, I was grateful to be able to audition at all, because for a while it was just all shut down,
Mm.
there was nothing. So at least it is a step in the right direction towards human connection.
Mm. Well, thank you so much, Peyton, and we're excited for this to come out.
Thank you so much. Nice to talk to you.
Hey, Jason and Kathleen, good to see you today.
Hi, good to see you. It's nocturnal, as in knock on the door. That's
As in like a night animal too.
yeah.
Yeah. um, you guys have both been part of so many like amazing TV shows and movies. What made you guys decide to be part of this show?
It shoots in Hawaii. That was a big plus. Yeah. And also, yeah, it's great writing. I watched Doogie Howser, MD, growing up, and I was a fan of that show. And right there is a great concept when you put a teenager, a prodigy teenager who's also a doctor, and just going through regular teenage angsty stuff, emotional stuff, situations, but also they're dealing with life and death at the hospital where they work. That's just compelling in and of itself. Then you make it a female mixed race with a really amazing family around her, and then set it in Hawaii. It's just and good writing on top of it. Yeah, that's a very attractive project to be a part of. So I was more than happy to try for it, and thank God I got it.
I think for me, it's just, I was raised in Hawaii, and to be able to play a local character, those roles don't come along very often. And it was kind of a nice thing that, especially now, to be able to work in my backyard and then not have to travel so far. And I think there was a lot of nuances in the script that was pronounced that we were going to sort of bring the local culture and the Hawaiian culture, to the forefront on this project. So, with those things, it was kind of pluses because you don't get those opportunities. You do have shows like Hawaii Five-0, but it doesn't really kind of bring those elements to the front.
Were other actors and some of the crew kind of double checking with you sometimes, Jason, making sure some of those local things work?
Oh, I tell you, I had Hawaiian language in the show, and what the lady, the gal who was our boom girl holding the microphone, she was a native speaker, and she went to Kamehameha schools and this kind of Hawaiian immersion schools, and she would always correct me. She goes, Jason, and it's like, oh, thank you so much. Because I'm not a native.
She was also an amazing hula dancer, and she would, while she was holding the boom, like hula. So it was like, of course, in Hawaii, that's where the boom operator is going to be a hula dancer.
What was like a fun experience, maybe after filming, that you will always remember from like creating the show?
Well, there was a tortoise that lived in the backyard of the house that we filmed in. His name was Henry. He was huge, like a really big tortoise. And he would make cameos every time we would shoot something in the backyard. And there was one scene where Jason and I were running towards each other. We talked really quick and we're really excited. And then we high five and then run past each other. And on one take, we did the scene, we high five, and then Jason took off and I had to leap over Henry because he was right in the pathway that I was running. And I was like, I just jumped a tortoise in the scene. And just all like, there was just so much local color that had to do with animals and people and just beautiful nature just surrounding you. So yeah, there was a lot of really amazing moments that we had with rainbows just in every day. There was a rainbow every day.
The audience is going to think it's CGI.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Well, we're excited for the series to release, and thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
What's up, guys?
Hi.
How did you guys balance everything? Being part of the show, preparing for it, working on set, traveling, and going to school?
It was a lot. I mean, I know all of us, we were island, we were going to the big island. We were discovering Oahu and showing everyone around. I'm from Hawaii, so I was showing everyone around. We were going on all kinds of hikes, and it was a lot of fun, but of course it's work, and we had to make sure that we had all of our stuff down. But overall, the whole experience was just a lot of play work.
That's awesome. Wes and Emma, how about you? Did you balance everything?
I feel like I didn't. Like, I feel like I just kind of went all in for DOOGIE. And what was cool was I guess balancing personal life and work and all of this stuff back home and not on the island. It all just kind of fell into place and melded together, because when we were on that island and when we were in this little bubble, that was our whole world for the 5 months. So it's definitely been an adjustment, coming back to normal life and being I have responsibilities outside of being on this show and swimming in the ocean and dancing in waterfalls. So it's been an adjustment.
Yeah, for me, I would have to say the same thing as Emma. It wasn't really balanced, but because I have school and everything, but I think I sort of made it work because this is my first production, so it was kind of a shock to me, especially with everything going on. And so, yeah, I don't know.
Well, congratulations, Wes, on your first production. You did extremely well, and you had probably the most funny lines of anyone on the show. That of the first couple episodes just made me laugh so much. I'd love to hear from all of you. What was like your favorite or unique experience that you'll remember for probably the rest of your life when filming the show?
So there is an episode, I don't want to spoil anything, but I get to do a huge dance number. And that was a dream come true because I'm not a confident dancer. I do not think of myself as a dancer, but like kind of like going all in and completely committing to it was just so much fun. And being able to, I mean, come on, you see all these like crazy dance numbers in like movies and TV shows, and it's like, oh my gosh, like that's me. That was like the craziest moment for me.
For me, I also did a little bit of hula dancing, and I don't know, it was so fun and amazing. And Jason Scott Lee, who plays the dad, Benny KAMEALOHA, he got to help me with it. And we got to do it together on stage, and it was really fun.
And for me, it was super cool because I don't know if you saw, but Jake Shimabukuro did our theme song. And at a certain point in the season, he comes into the show, and we have this moment with pretty much the whole cast, and everyone that was kind of involved in the show was there. And it was all of us together, and he's playing a song, and it was just a really nice moment for us. And everyone was getting a little teary-eyed, and I think we all just knew that we were going to be family forever once we did that.
Well, thank you guys so much for taking your time for this interview, and we're excited for this show to release.
Cool. Thanks, Joe.
What's up, guys?
Hi, Joe.
Joe?
Oh, so I'd love to hear about when you guys first got booked for your role in the show.
Oh my gosh. So we were in the middle of a pandemic. I was at home in Los Angeles. They sent me the script. I saw that it was a show being helmed by Courtney Kang, who was somebody that I knew personally, but was such a huge fan of professionally. And it was literally in our pajamas doing an audition on tape that took 20 minutes, sent it in, and booked the role. I think your process was very similar, wasn't it, Mapo?
It was very similar, which is so surprising and refreshing because a lot of times you do self-tapes, in the actor world, and you do these tapes over and over again, and it kind of just goes into a void. And this time there was a response and an immediate excitement because I had been following the show's development ever since I saw that it had come out on Deadline and things like that. So beyond thrilled to be a part of it.
That's super exciting. I'd love to hear the process of like traveling and filming during the pandemic and how that all worked and like how you guys overcame some of those challenges.
Well, for me, I remember I had goggles on the airplane. I had a face shield and a mask, and I sat and I didn't drink anything so that I didn't have to get up and use the restroom. I mean, it was that serious for me. I was just like, just get there, be safe. And then, there was tons of COVID protocols that we had to follow when we got there. We got tested when we got there, and then we got tested 3 days a week. So, even though all of those challenges came up, it was still just so refreshing to go and still get to work.
Yeah, I was that weirdo on the plane too, with the goggles and the face mask and all of that. But this was like an opportunity of a lifetime, and I was not going to risk it to eat some peanuts on an airplane. So leaving Los Angeles at that time, mid-January, there were about like 40,000 cases a day of COVID here. In Hawaii, there was about 100 cases a day in all of the islands combined. So there was this sense of freedom and safety, but in order to maintain that, we really had to follow the proper protocols and really respect the ways of the locals. They really had COVID on lock there because everybody was working as a community. Everybody wasn't just thinking of their own best self-interests. Everyone was really considering ohana, family, and community, and everyone was in it together, and it really showed. There was no resistance to wearing masks or to socially distancing. We just all knew that we had this incredible privilege and opportunity to be working on the show, and nobody was willing to be the one to mess it up out of like or pride or whatever it may be.
Totally.
That's really good to hear, and really good that you guys were able to, safely create the show during this time. What was it like preparing for your roles working in the hospital? Like, how did you get into that mindset?
Really, we're just pretty much thrown into it because of COVID safety protocols. I think normally there would have been some sort of like training prior to, or Disney boot camp, but there really wasn't, because we really just had to spend as much limited time together in one space as possible. So all of us were very much thrown into it. The hospital is very much a character of itself, of the show. So just being there, I think we all dropped into the flow of it very quickly and with some ease. We had a doctor on set, Dr. Mark, who helped us with all of the medical jargon and like physical characteristics of surgery and things like that. But it was pretty much like a learning on the job situation.
Yeah, pretty much. And then learning how to sort of navigate, like, okay, this is the medical jargon portion, or this is the doctor portion, and then this is our personality portion. And then for us, our cultural backgrounds, that gets to be a part of our character. So how much of, as far as my character Noelani, like, how like local does she get in the hospital versus being outside? There's things to navigate like that as well that were really fun and sort of scene by scene, which, I think adds a lot of like organic elements to it, which I'm glad it came out that way rather than having to be so prepared.
Well, thank you guys so much. And we're excited for the show to be out.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you. It's so nice to meet you.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Hey, Courtney, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. So I'd love to start with, how did the journey of the show begin? Like, where did you guys start with it?
Yes, it sort of started, I heard they wanted to reboot Doogie Howser, and my good friends Melvin Marr and Jake Kasdan, who I worked on Fresh Off the Boat with, were like, hey, they want to reboot Doogie Howser and put an Asian girl at the center of it. And I was like, how's it called Doogie? Like, what's the math of this? And I was like, I don't know, guys. And then I had the idea of, what if you set it in our world? The Doogie is just, a TV show from the 90s, and it's her nickname. And she's like, I don't know this show. I wasn't even born then. Like, what are you talking about? And that sort of tickled me. I was like, I don't know if I've ever seen that. And then I had the idea of, like, you could set it in Hawaii, which is really exciting to me because I was born in Hawaii. My dad's Korean, my mom's an Irish lady from Pennsylvania. And growing up, I never saw a show with a mixed race family like mine, and certainly not a show that dealt with Hawaii in any sort of real way. And so it became really exciting to me that I could take this thing from my childhood and kind of make it my own and put my own special sauce into it. And so that's where it sort of came from. And then as we sort of went along, and we cast people and the crew came together, and we all sort of added our own personal touches to it. And now the end result, even though it's a Doogie Howser reboot, it's oddly personal and very connected to all of us who have worked on it.
How did your family respond when you told them about the storyline for the show?
They were so excited. And in the KAMEALOHA house on the stairwell, there's a bunch of pictures. And a lot of those pictures are of my real life family. There's like my mom's senior portrait and my dad's and my aunties and uncles and my grandma and like the folks who came over from Korea, like they're all there on the wall. And so it's really personal and it has those touches baked into it. And so they're really excited. And they get excited. Like my dad, like there was like some articles in the Hawaii newspapers, and his friends like sent him the actual newspaper article in the mail. And like for like parents' friends to call you about like your kid, I think is like a major parent win. So they're very excited.
I'd love to hear a little bit of the process of writing the show. So after you guys know where you're going with the show, what was the process like? Was it a team? Were you sitting in your office writing a lot?
Yes, the whole show was written in like on a Zoom, much like this. So I wrote the pilot, and then I hired the best writing staff in the business. We have amazing writers who all chipped in and made this a special show. And it's crazy because of the pandemic, it all took place over Zoom. And so finally, when the show was done, we all met in person for the first time, and it was amazing to see these people in real life. And it was so funny because there were some people who we all assumed were taller, who were shorter. I'm very short, and people were shocked. They were like, I didn't know you were 5'2". I was like, yes, I'm very short. So it was sort of an odd thing to work so closely with people who you never stood face to face with.
I feel like that's something that no matter what genre of work people are in, like that's something we all can experience and like empathize with right now.
Yes.
How did you keep it realistic to the location you were filming and the doctors and all that? Like, how did you keep the dialogue realistic to the show you were creating?
Yes. Well, we have a team of doctors who are our experts who we would go to, who would weigh in on things and would help us. We have a doctor on set who would make sure we were doing everything correct. And then as far as the Hawaii of it all, our crew was all local. Mm-hmm. We have department heads who are native, who are local to the island. And it really was a labor of love in making sure we were as accurate as can be. And it's interesting because a lot of times there's discrepancies. You know, people say it one way, somebody's like, well, I think it's this. And so, but that's life. You know what I mean? There's not just one story. And we tried to be as authentic as we could to this family, you know, and it's based on my family. And so this is what it felt like to me. And all I can do is sort of be honest about my experience. And that's what we attempted to do.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Courtney. We're excited for this show to be out and be able to see the whole show as a community.
Yes, thank you.